no bantu muri tambitega muswaya gulindiswe bujundu yawe muri tambitega muswaya gulindiswe bujundu mugabole muri tambitego tukala yawe guli malele mugabole go tukala gulindiswe bujundu mugabole muri tambitego tukala yawe guli malele mugabole go tukala gulindiswe bujundu.
Hi, I have with me here a game between Bright Muyenga of Livingstone. Sorry about that. Playing the white pieces against Emmanuel Wanga, also of Livingstone. So it is a game of veteran versus youth. Bright Muyenga, being the veteran, he's been in the game for a long time, a very strong player. And Emmanuel Wanga, a promising youngster, also very strong. So the game was played in the Southern Closed Chess Tournament that was held in Choma, December 2023. So Bright with the white pieces starts with pawn to d4. We have e6, knight to f3, f5, the Dutch defense, bishop to f4, knight to f6, c4, b6 by black. Best here is bishop to b4 check, then knight on b to d2, then b6, a3, bishop takes, queen takes on d2, bishop b7, e3, castles, bishop to e2, d6, castles, knight b to d7. This line was played by Sarana versus Amin Basim in 2020. Basim with the black pieces went on to win a fine game. Back to our game after b6, we have knight to c3, bishop to b4 pinning, then we have queen to b3 hitting the bishop, a5 protecting the bishop, a3 hitting the bishop again, bishop takes on c3, queen takes on c3, and the position is equal. So here we have bishop to b7, and so what can we see here? Black has a very firm grip of the e5 square here from the knight, the pawn, as well as the bishop, and white needs to find a way to actually begin to fight for the control of this square by starting with knight dropping to d2. So other moves that are possible here in this position are h3 or simply d5, but in the game white played e3, and this is a new move. It's a novelty. Now we have d6. Now let me just say that you know, as usually happens in most amateur games, to actually give up the bishop for the knight here in order to ruin the pawn structure for white, where he hopes to castle short, this would actually be positionally unsound for black. It would actually work against him because with a pawn here on f3, the pawn actually now just makes it easy for white to have some control of the e4 square. And also the g file has been opened up, and the rook can come here and exert some pressure here, and it is going to be risky for black to castle short here on the king side. Back to the game after d6, we have bishop to e2. Now, best is bishop to d3. Why? Because like we pointed out earlier, the bishop being on e2 doesn't really do much, because you don't need this bishop here as white to guard the knight, because should black take here, like we saw earlier, it is actually in white's best interest to recapture the pawn. So the bishop is better placed here, where it can actually stop the ideas of the knight coming to harass the queen here. Can simply take with the bishop. So back in the game, after bishop e2, now black castles, and by so doing misses the opportunity to actually kick the queen by moving knight to e4. So now we have castles, and then now black plays knight to e4, hitting the queen, and in so doing also prevents the immediate knight drop to e2 to begin the fight for the e4 square. So the queen is forced back to c2, and then now we have g5, a very strong move by black. So bishop goes to g3. Now we have rook to f6. Best here is actually queen to f6. Queen to f6 actually it helps black to actually have a lot of control over this square, because when the knight will come to d7, black will want to push this pawn here, and there's going to be a good number of pieces guarding this square, and the rooks are going to be connected. So in the game, after rook to f6, then now we have h3 by white. Now rook to h6. Better is simply knight to d7 developing. So after rook to h6, now we have knight to d2, beginning the fight for the e4 square. Now we have knight to d7. Knight takes on e4, bishop takes, and then now we have bishop to d3. So here we have knight f6 and then f3. So bishop goes back to b7. Now this bishop on b7 here doesn't really do so much on this diagonal because of the arrangement of these pawns here, and it's actually better off to just give it away, trade it away here. Bishop takes on d3, queen takes on d3, and then just play queen to d7. So after bishop back to b7, we have e4. Now we have f4 hitting the bishop. Bishop drops back to f2, and then we have e5. So here the computer suggests that black should immediately play king to h8. White's plan is to actually expand here by simply pushing c5, and the reason for king to h8 will be seen clearer shortly. Here after c5, simply play d5. Now back in the game, after e5, and then now we have rook f to d7. So this is an inaccuracy by white. So the best move here was simply going to go with a plan of playing c5. Now this is where you see that actually with this, it already comes with tempo, and then this diagonal has been opened up, and you don't want a possible queen to b3 coming with tempo, and having a lot of possibilities here where the queen is actually Let me just do this. The queen will have that X-ray effect on the bishop. And yeah, so this is actually a stronger continuation by white. Now, here after rook f2 d1, white missing that opportunity. Now we have queen to e7. Now, black also makes an inaccurate move here. The best move is to stop the idea of white playing c5 by black playing c5 himself. So after queen to e7, now we have d takes. After d takes, and then now we have c5. Bishop goes to c8, and now we have c takes on b6. B takes on c takes on b6, and then now we have bishop takes on b6. Now we have bishop takes on h3, so white decides to give up his bishop for 3 pawns, with the idea that when black will have captured these 3 pawns here, it's going to leave him with the compensation of having 3 passed pawns that are coming down on the king side here. So now we are going to see exactly how this strategy works out for black, but as it is, the truth is that, you know, white has enough forces to actually be able to jeopardize this plan that black has. So this actually just gives an advantage to white. So we're going to see exactly how white should play correctly with this situation on the board. So here g takes h3, now rook takes h3, then bishop to f1 attacking the rook, and now rook takes on f3, and then bishop to g2 attacking the rook, and the rook goes g3. So now the idea is that black hopes to play f3. So now the question now is how should white play? What is the best way to actually continue here with this situation as it is on the board? So are you able to find it? Are you able to find what should be white's best plan to actually continue with the game here? So in the game, we have rook to d3 by white. Now, this actually misses out on the best way that actually white could have continued the game and managed to actually diffuse this threat that black has. So the best way was going to be queen to c6, hitting the rook there, threatening to capture with check. And when the rook has played to f8, they now simply bishop to f2. And bishop to f2 hits the rook, and the rook will be forced to go to b3. After b3, then now bishop can come down to f1, threatening to fork the queen, the king, and the rook. And then rook is going to be forced back to b8, and then now we can have bishop to c5, hitting the queen there. And then queen goes to c8, and then now we can have bishop to c4 check, king to h8, queen takes, rook takes, and then bishop f7, hitting the rook, and the rook, and then we have knight takes on e4, bishop takes on e8, and then knight takes on c5, and then bishop back to e7, f7, sorry, and this is just winning for white. So this is how best actually white could have handled this position in order to neutralize black's threats. So back to the game. After rook to d3, now we have rook takes on g3, queen takes on d3, and then now we have rook to b8, and then now here we have queen to c4. Now here the bishop cannot capture the pawn on a5 because that pawn at the moment is poisoned, because we're going to have queen to c5 check, and after king h1, and the bishop will be captured. So queen to c4 is okay, check, and king went to h8, but the best would have simply been king to h7, and then we can have queen to c7, queen takes, bishop takes, and then rook to takes on b2. White is still better, but this is slightly better for black. So back in the game, after king to h8, now we have queen to c7. Again, even here, we still can't take the pawn on a5 because of queen to a7 check, and after king h2, then now we can have queen takes on a5. So this would be losing for white. So after queen to c7, now we have knight to d7, which is actually not very correct. The best was going to be queen to e8, and then here we can have queen to d6, and then queen to f8, and then just have a trade of queens there. Then bishop can take on a5, and then we can have h5 by black. So after knight to d7, now there's rook to d1, just threatening to win a piece there. So now we have queen to e6. So here I would ask you to actually find the correct move for white to keep his advantage. What is the best continuation? I hope you're able to find it. So just to continue with the game here, white played rook takes on d7, and this is also an inaccuracy. Let me also point out that it's also not very correct, or not the best move for white to capture queen takes on d7, because queen takes on b6 comes with check and king h1. Then now we have queen to h6 check, and then bishop to h3, and then now we have rook to f8. So this is still better for black. So the best move here in this position was going to be bishop takes on a5. After rook takes on b2, then now we can have rook takes on d7, and then rook to b1 will be met by king to f2, rook to b2. Now simply rook to d2, rook takes, bishop takes. So back in the game, after this move as played by white allowed this check, and after queen takes, now rook takes, and now we go into the end game. We go into the end game. So now here we have bishop to h3, which is again not so accurate by white. Best move here was going to be rook to e7. This was going to actually force the black rook to be a bit passive by coming to guard the pawns on from the 5th rank. Black can't afford to go capturing on B2 because he's going to lose 2 pawns here. Black will take here, and then now which pawn do you safeguard? You can guard the G pawn, but I'm going to take the A pawn. So this is actually not good for Black. So he would be forced to actually remain a bit passive to guard the pawns on the 5th rank. So bishop to H3 now. Here again, I'm going to pose a question. If you are Black, find the move that actually instantly wins. So you can pause the video and try to find the winning move for Black. Well, I hope you were able to find it. In the game, Black played H5, preparing to push the G pawn, but actually the winning move here is simply G4 immediately. You cannot take here because of rook to G6. So sorry about that. So with G4, you force this bishop to retreat, and as the bishop retreats, then the pawn can advance to G3, and there's no way that white is going to be able to stop these pawns, especially with the rook coming behind. So after H5 by Black, now we have bishop to F5, and here is simply threatening rook to H7, and probably picking up the H pawn. So what does Black play? So Black here played rook takes on B2, which actually allows white to fulfill his idea of playing rook to H7. So this was an inaccuracy by Black. So when you look at this game, both players, they kept on giving away the game to the opponent. So after rook takes on B2, now we have rook to H7 check, king G8, and now rook takes on H5, and now threatening to capture on a G5. So what does Black do here? We have a series of checks: rook B1 check, king to G2, rook B2 check, king F1, rook B1 check, king E2, rook B2 check, and then now I have king E1, rook B1 check, then king D to D2, which is not very correct, because now it allows the rook to come to G1 to guard the pawn here. So better was simply king to E2, okay, which keeps winning chances for white. So after king to D2, now we have rook to B2. So better was simply rook to G1. So king to rook to B2 check. Now we have king to D1, which is again incorrect, because now we have rook to G2. So after rook to G2, now we have rook to H6. Again, not so correct. The best was going to be king to E1, just going back to help stop the pawns here. So after rook to H6, now we have king to F7, and now the position is equal and Black is doing much better. Now we have rook to G6, and then A4. Now here, Black shouldn't play F3, because now simply king to e1 gives white winning chances. So after a4, now we have rook to a6. And then now we have g4. And there's a threat that once this pawn goes to g3, really, white can stop these pawns. And in this position, white gave up the bishop by taking on g4. But then this was just a blunder, because really now black is winning. So after rook takes on a4, and then now we have rook to g3, strong move. Rook to a5, and then king goes to e6. Rook a6 check. Now we have king to d7. Better is king e7 to just stop the rook coming to f6. So after king to d7, now we have rook to a5. And here we have king to d6, and then now king to d5 check, king e6, rook a5, rook e3, and now we have rook a6 check, king to d7, rook a4, just guarding the pawn, and now we have f3, and the pawn can match, the first pawn can match forward, king to d2, and now we have f2, because now that pawn is simply just unstoppable. Now rook to a7 check, king to e6, rook a6 check, king to f7, king takes on e3, and then we have a new queen on the board. Rook a7 check, king g6, and after rook e7, rook c7, now we have queen to f4, and it was in this position that white resigned. So it was quite an interesting game and worth the while. I hope it teaches you one or two things, and until next time, this has been Marvin for Southern Stars Chess Base. Thank you for watching.